So I want to tell you a story today about my first fire. Not my first hire, my first fire. So this would be back 2012, early 2012. I had just moved the company to Charlotte, North Carolina. Up until then, at most I would have some part-time help or a crew of guys that would help here and there, but it was more of an on-job, per the job basis, so I didn't have full-time people. So if there wasn't work, there wasn't work, or if I didn't like the work you did, then I just wouldn't bring you back. So I never had to sit down and fire somebody. And my personality, I'm very get along with people kind of person. I don't like making people feel bad or look bad or anything like that. And I hate confrontation. It's my personality, just from a lot of issues and growing up and how I was raised. I'm just not a fan of confrontation, so I like to avoid it. So as you can imagine, when you're firing somebody because they're not working, not doing their job well, there's lots of confrontation there and there's lots of arguing, and I like to work things out where, all right, well, let's try this, let's find a solution so everybody stays happy. When you're firing somebody because they're not doing their job, there's kind of not a lot of that there. So I wrestled with it for a while. I had this guy, and I'll never forget this guy. I can't remember his name for the life of me at this moment, but I can see his face like it was yesterday. He's an older dude. So when he'd come to Charlotte, put ads out, hiring whoever I could, whoever would make it through the interview process to come work, see if they did good work. I'd keep them. If they didn't, I wouldn't. So, and we'll tell a story about that or later. So this guy, he looked like Santa Claus. Straight up, no lie, looked like Santa Claus. Bald on the top, big old white beard, very loud, always joking around, always talking a bunch of junk. Always talking about how he wore red thongs, and we'd all laugh about it. Never believed him until we bent over one time, and I was like, you weren't lying. So fun guy to have on the job, nice guy, but he just wasn't working. He would take a ton of breaks. He wasn't getting the job done quickly. Clearly didn't know what he was doing outside of a very small area of the work. So wasn't who he promoted himself to be as far as skill set, etc. So he'd been with us for a few days, and he just wasn't worth what we'd hired him for, not even close. So I had to have that conversation with him, and it was hurting the other guys because they see him doing less work, making the same amount of money. They said something's not right here. So I sat in my truck. I remember sitting there wrestling with it. I left, went to the store, got a drink, not alcohol. I got like a soda or a Gatorade. I don't remember what I got, but just left so I could think through it for a minute. And I came back, and still one of the hardest things that I've done. I've had to fire a lot of people since, but I had to just come to terms with why I was letting him go. And yes, it was because he wasn't doing his job, because he wasn't doing the work that I paid him for. But why did that matter? Well, it was because this job, this company paid for my kid, paid for my family, provided for us. So how was I gonna keep this? How could I lose money on this guy when I've got a kid to provide for? So I think that's how I presented it to him. I was like, hey, I hired you at this. You clearly can't do that level of work. I can't lose money on you I can't lose the money on you that I need to provide for my daughter. So she needed that money a lot more than he did. So that's how I did it. And I explained it to the guy that way, and he didn't really argue about it. And it was a hard conversation to have on that first one. And there's been plenty of them since that were difficult, but that was the conversation is, hey, this company provides for my daughter, and you're making this company lose money. And those two things just don't go well together. So, and he was cool about it, and we didn't have a fight over it or have a big argument, and he apologized, and we went on our separate ways. But that was one of the hardest things I had to do to that point, was let someone go from a job. So if you have a fun or not so fun first fire story. Would love to hear about it in the comments. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that little bit, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching this episode. Give it a like. Let us know what you thought in the comments down there. Share it if you feel so inclined. If you really like it, go to our page under follow, click see first. That way you never miss a video. You see it as soon as it comes out. And we'll see you on the next episode.